Christina Fuges with MoldMaking Technology for another quick MMT chat. My guests today, three, all hail from MC Molds in Williamston, Michigan. And their team has been involved with some COVID-related test kit parts. So my guests today are Dave Keesaer, Vice President of Operations, Eric West, Sales Manager, and Joe Palazzolo, the GM of Manufacturing. So welcome.
Hello. Thank you.
Thank you,
So
Christina.
before we get into talking about COVID and its impact, actually, let's start with that. How is everybody and how is business as of today?
Business is going well. We were busy when this started, and we're maintaining that level. We're near capacity. Everybody's doing great in our company. We had our HR head of HR, which you had met earlier, Matt. He kind of preempted all of this and bought up hand sanitizer and things like that for the shop before the big rush ever happened. So we have to credit him for a lot of our supplies that we had on hand to help make this happen. We did everything that we could to keep our own employees happy in the beginning of this, because everybody has their own level of anxiety when this was all happening as to what was going to happen. Am I going to get sick? Whatever. So we held a couple meetings. We had some briefings, to help keep everybody as safe as possible. Wash your hands, clean your hard surfaces periodically, maintain that social distancing.
How are you accomplishing that? How are you accomplishing the social distancing aspect?
I'm going to let Joe answer that one.
We developed a lot of different procedures that we work with their managers and shop floor supervisors to implement. One being everybody's got a different clock in time, so we don't have several different people clocking in at once. Everybody's got to wear face masks when they enter the building and while they're in the building. We distributed walkie-talkies to everybody on the production floor. So if they do need to get in contact with somebody within 6 feet, they're able to radio them and give notifications so that when they go over, they can make sure. And then, like Dave touched on, we've got hand sanitizer all the way throughout the shop in different locations.
One big thing that we had done as well is we had split the workforce. I don't know if you were going to talk about that or not, Joe, but we split the workforce, and that was key into getting people separated so that we didn't have as many people on the floor at the same time. So we split the workforce for 2 weeks. One half of them were off and the other half stayed on, and that allowed for more social distancing.
That's smart.
Yeah, when they returned, we moved some personnel to the off shifts, to reduce the head count on first shift. So we run 3 shifts right now. We're able to do that.
How do you feel, how have leadership stepped in? So communication and leadership have been 2 key things that keep coming up during this, that are key to keeping morale up and to keeping people feeling comfortable, safe, motivated. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, early on, we had a meeting. We got all our leaders together and had a meeting and kind of came up with a plan of what we wanted to do, and we said, hey, we want to do as much as we can to help out with this COVID-19 problem as possible. So knowing that, we initially put forth all our COVID-19 projects are going to go to the top of the list, and we've been working with our customers with delivery dates. So if we have a hot COVID project, some of our other customers are willing to take their tools a little bit later to help alleviate some of that workload. And again, with our leaders, we got together and came up with that plan of putting half our workforce off for 2 weeks, having the other side work for 2 weeks, and then we switched. We're back now at full force, but just kind of listen to what our employees were saying. We followed CDC guidelines. We put in place before you enter the building, you get your temperature taken. You have to answer some health screening questions. just trying to keep our workforce as healthy and happy as possible throughout the course of this.
Do you see, I was saying this earlier before we started this, like as we move out of this and things try to get back to normal, I would imagine shops are going to have to deal with employees in a different way in terms of that mental health and that anxiety. Do you feel that too? Like moving forward, people are always might, depending on who they are, might be a little on edge.
Definitely. All you can do is listen to everybody's concerns, try to react the best that you can. We're lucky we have a great workforce here. Everybody's willing to do their part to help out in this. And so far we haven't had a lot of issues. You know, in the beginning, tensions are high, and we tried to work through that. And we had several meetings with management, you know, to try to work out ways to help alleviate some of that stress with our employees. You know, we bring in lunch every now and then for the employees, just try to make things as easy as possible on everyone. And if issues come up, we try to handle them as quickly as possible.
All right, so before we get into the COVID project, let's talk about this team. Like, give me a snapshot of MC's, you know, their specialty and your workforce, so we can have people a better understanding of what you guys are known for.
We're extrusion blow molders. We do a lot of want to say cosmetic type stuff. We do anything up to a 5-gallon container and below. So a lot of shampoo bottles, industrial, like ag chemical bottles. Some of the bottles were right in our wheelhouse on this, the COVID-19 test kits, you know, the bottles that are required for those. A lot of cleaning supply containers like wipes and things of that nature.
Okay, that's funny.
And then some odd stuff. We do a little bit of automotive and some like sneaker insoles and things of that nature. So we're all over the map, anything up to 5 gallons for extrusion blow mold and some secondary tooling.
So and you sound pretty diversified, which I think is key nowadays.
Definitely. The automotive is a little scarier than anything, and we don't do as much of it as we used to, but we try to keep our hand a little bit in everything, and we do some stretch blow molding and containers, and we build our own spin trimmers. You know, we try to be diversified as much as we can, but then again, our niche is extrusion blow molding, and that's where we hang out the most.
So what is a typical lead time on projects? Let's talk about that.
It varies, you know, depending upon the complexity and the size range. The first 2 COVID-19 molds that we made, we did them in a week and a half. Well, we quoted a week and a half. We got them done in 6 days. But typically it would have been a 3 to 4 week lead time.
Wow. Wow. So, all right, let's get into that then. So how did that project come about? Because I think, Dave, you said earlier that you do related work. So it was something that was more or less ramped up, not a new project, correct?
Yeah, we actually have numerous. Yeah. I'll go ahead and, I'll take this one. So we actually have numerous projects. There's 3, and then we have a couple others in the pipeline. The first one that we started with was I'm gonna get this right. It's a diagnostic reagent bottle, is what it specifically is. I know that sounds it's interesting. Anyway, exactly. Bottom line is that's the project that Joe was referring to, and it was a smaller size mold for us, but at the end of the day we were able to turn it around really quick. Then there was a similar bottle that we did for another organization, Courier Plastics. Actually, the first one was Thermo Fisher, the second one was Courier Plastics, but they had different needs. Their needs were specific to machines, and it was going to be a much larger volume. We were able to turn that around in 5 weeks, actually, which normally that would be a 8-week project or longer. It's still in the pipeline. We're going to be wrapping that one up soon. And then the other one is for sanitation, and that was for Silgan. That was turned around in about 5 weeks. So that was a similar container that we had done, but increased in size and volume. So those are a few of them. And then we got a couple others that are in the pipeline as well.
So let's continue. Do you see that aspect like letting up anytime soon?
We don't think so. We think that with the nationwide testing that is going to take place, that especially in the sanitation side or the personal protection equipment, we primarily are in multi-use type containers, bottles, not in single use. So when you think about personal protection and wipes or any type of hand sanitizer, those are all going to be very important as we get into the nationwide testing and that ramp up. We're talking about 300 million people. And then whatever is exported to Canada and Mexico just on this particular continent. So we don't see that going away. And then in addition to that, whatever medical testing bottles or containers that are needed there as well. I don't think that things are defined completely, so there could be something new that we don't even know about yet. So we continue to see that growing along with just sustaining what is the current needs for our customers.
So when these jobs come in, so talk a little bit about how do you work it into your schedule? Is it all hands on deck? And not only that, then how are you accomplishing those lead times? What's different about this? What are you doing differently?
Well, just all COVID-19 projects are taking priority. So anytime we get a COVID-19 project, we take a look at our schedule. We look at all the non-COVID-19 related projects, and then if anything needs to get moved around, we reach out to our customers and talk to them about it. Right now, our core focus is everything that's critical, central infrastructure projects.
Okay.
Is top priority at the time right now.
Is there anything in your? Go ahead.
I was just going to add to that all of our customers have been very responsive to our needs or their needs. They've also been flexible in their schedules. If they had something that wasn't specific to COVID-19, that it could be postponed, we would, talk to them about that, and they've all been very generous in pushing lead times out to make accommodations for this. So.
Yeah, that's a common theme, which I guess doesn't surprise me with manufacturing as a whole. You guys come together when it matters to get things done, and people understand. It's communication, right? It's just understanding what's really going on and just being there for each other. So what was the #1 challenge as you take on these more urgent jobs in your process? What was the #1 challenge? Or what was stretched the most?
Our workforce.
It wasn't really a challenge as far as getting the work out. Everybody wanted to play a part, so it didn't matter what it was. Everybody wanted to contribute to the effort. Throughout this whole process, we were deemed necessary as critical infrastructure, and then we've actually got these projects that were directly related to the COVID-19 effort. So it gave everybody a purpose, and everybody worked together as a team and got it done as soon as possible at a record speed. So we're pretty proud of the guys in the shop for what they've done.
Yeah, it should be. Was it just more hours, or was there something? Are you discovering that there's steps in the overall process that you're finding maybe aren't necessary for every job, and maybe we can achieve these lead times in ordinary times?
I think in these extraordinary times, it's everybody doing everything that they possibly can to get the work done as efficiently as possible. I mean, right down to, management doing their part as well. We're trying to help design tools and get stuff into the pipeline faster. Can we use some of this? Definitely, but I think for the most part, it's that superhuman effort that people are putting into to try to get this stuff done because of the cause.
Yeah, I like that superhuman effort.
We've got a great workforce, and the guys really stepped up with these projects to get them done quickly. And some of it, the first project was done with half our workforce. So we can't say enough about our employees and how well they've worked through this.
I forgot, because you split it. So yeah, that's incredible. That's even more incredible. It's not all hands on deck. It was half hands on deck because of social distancing, right? And trying to manage all that.
Right.
That's incredible.
In addition to that, we had individuals that were in the office, and we had them work from home as well. So we had that change within our process and try to bridge that gap as people were communicating, and those of us that were on site and have been on site, picked up the slack. So at today's point, there was a lot of individuals that stepped into areas that normally they wouldn't have stepped into to do what they needed to do to get the job done.
Yeah, I've heard that too. On the people side, people are learning, even if they're being exposed to different aspects of the business because they just need to get on board with it. And some are finding they like that aspect better. Some are learning, wow, I'm better at that than I am at this. So that's a whole interesting personnel aspect too, is growth, personal growth through a challenge like this. Are there any specific technologies that were key to all of this on the shop floor or in engineering? And is there something that you want when we come out of this that you wish you had?
I don't think we've seen any of that. The only real new technology that we're using now would be VPNs because of people working at home. So we had to quickly ramp up VPN network, which we didn't have in place before this started. So that's probably the biggest technology oriented thing. Other than that, we're still using the same software. We try to stay current on all that to begin with. So that was pretty much business as usual.
So it's more the cybersecurity, right? The security, people not working in the office. Is everybody back to the shop now, or are there still some people working from home?
We still have some people working from home, but our engineers are still working from home. We're lucky in that our building is separated so that our programming department is kind of on their own anyway, so they could continue to work from the shop and still stay somewhat segregated from the rest of the workforce. We're using telephones, calling different departments more and more. But yeah, we're just trying to.
How are meetings in the shop? Are you conducting them differently?
Definitely a lot smaller meetings. We have just core people, say 3 or 4 people get together for a meeting that we would have had, 8 or 10 people on. And then we just have them individually meet with the people below them to try to keep that social distancing in place.
Yeah. What would you say is your single biggest concern related to this virus as we move forward?
Probably reopening the economy would be the biggest issue for us. What does that look like? How is that going to impact inflation? How is that going to impact our supply chain? That's probably one of the biggest issues for us, and seeing how that all evolves. And it's kind of the unknown, if you will.
Yeah, it's a big unknown.
Yeah,
even
right.
on a personal level, right? Do you have any tips for other shops, mold builders, as we still fight through this, that has helped you?
Yeah, stay positive. Obviously, this too shall pass. There's been a lot of different things like this that have taken place, but stay positive. Stay positive with your workforce as well. Try to keep them uplifted. There's going to be anxiety. It's going to continue to come on because that comes with change. Probably one of the biggest things that we've learned as well or from our lessons learned, is we all have a playbook now. As this thing is evolved, there are certain steps that had to take place rather, and from that now we can learn from that, we can grow from that, and if this pandemic continues and if something unfortunate happens, like it's a resurgence or it grows, then we can go back to where we were or continue on, or if there's a pandemic in the future, now we have that. So those would be a couple things that we would take from this that other organizations maybe could use.
I like how you said playbook. I was talking to a shop earlier, and they said when they came out of the recession, that gave them a playbook for that, so they felt a lot more prepared for this disruption. So it's interesting you use that same terminology. You got to have it, because there's always going to be something, right? It's always going to be something that's going to crop up.
Definitely.
And you never know what industry, or that's why diversification is so important. You never know what industry is going to be the winner or the loser for a time being. So diversification, which was big coming out of the recession, right, is the same thing here. That playbook, correct. I like that. So lastly, how do each of you see mold manufacturing like emerging from this crisis? How do you see, like, in terms of the business and how a mold builder might do things differently? Because you know what? Let me preface that by saying a big light has been shown on this industry. Like when this first came out, everybody was 3D printing different face shields and products like that. Next thing you know, there was such a quantity that was needed. You know, injection molding was in the spotlight. We need this. We need tooling. We need to mold parts. Plastics, you know, think about the image of plastics even. Like everything started to, a positive light is shown on this segment of manufacturing. And I think that's a good thing. So with that being said, and reshoring, all this stuff, how do you see, again, mold manufacturing coming out of this in a different light?
I think that in the short term anyway, there's going to be a lot more call for these consumer products that we've been doing in the test kits, and I think that the way that we conduct our business will probably change. We spoke earlier about the social distancing and probably not taking as many trips to our customers as what we would normally do. So I think we may end up doing more telecommunicating as well as video chatting with our customers on jobs. And we do have some great customers that we've dealt with for long periods of time. And we have some newer customers that have been really great to us as well. And we can handle a lot of that business over the phone. They feel comfortable with that. So I think a lot of that moving forward will be that way, a lot less face-to-face business.
Yeah. Which is sad to me in an industry that I've come to know all these years is very face-to-face, very community focused. So that aspect of it, I would think would be missed, but it's a new age, right? It's a new age. And any younger generation coming in is already used to this. This is the way they communicate. So maybe that's our push to, right? To make it happen.
I hope it doesn't stay that way. I truly don't, because I would rather do business in person. I like that interaction with meeting with our customers and being able to take them out to dinner and go to our trade shows, which we have all the time. So that personal aspect of it, I think there's a lot to be said about it. So I hope that this doesn't stay the way that it is, but it might be our new norm. You never know.
The new normal.
Hiring is another one that's going to change. Yeah, interviewing is going to take place. I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry. Explain that again. Hiring.
Oh, hiring is going to definitely change as well. We're hiring for several different departments right now, and every interview we're doing now is just over the phone. Because we don't want to bring anybody in to the shop and endanger our employees if somebody's potentially sick. So
interesting. Wow, gosh, you're right. There's that face-to-face. Like you got to be missing something by not having them in front of you, right? Body language and just,
sure.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so, I didn't think about that. That's a new one.
The option as far as a regular physical and drug examination. Now you have the opportunity to test them for COVID-19 and make sure that they don't bring anything in. Employees.
Wow. Crazy world. Well, I want to thank each of you for your time today. I think it was an interesting conversation. I want to thank you for all your work your team has done in this fight for COVID. Like I said, it's put mold making and mold manufacturing in a very good spotlight, and I hope that continues. So again, thank you for your time. And for everybody out there, remember, for everything mold making related, visit moldmakingtechnology.com.
Thank you, Christina.